I've had this ever since I sold my YJ. It started out with a Rubicon Express lift and just kind of went from there. What we have on this right now is kind of a conglomeration or a kludge of a Genrite kit glommed onto what was already there, which was the Rubicon Express kit. I kept the skid plate off the Rubicon Express and kind of added some of the frame mounts for the upper control arms. And then the control arms themselves are from the Genrite kit. Underneath, we have a Genrite stretch TJ gas tank. And then there's a 14-bolt rear end out of a Suburban. And it's got a disc brake conversion on it. On the front, I have a Dana 60 out of like a 1985 F1 or F350. I originally started putting this in a YJ that I had, and then ran into issues with because the pumpkin sat so far out, it was contacting the frame. So what I ended up doing is I took the front end down to Tri-County Gear and had them basically mimic the dimensions of a 78-79 Ford F350 front end, which moves the pumpkin in far enough that contact with the frame wasn't an issue. So power steering is a combination of a PSC power steering box, PSC hydraulic assist, PSC pump for a GM vehicle is down there, and then it all runs through a Hydro Boost system to power the brakes. Just the body stuff that I did on this Jeep when I did the lift and everything else. The front fenders are Genrite Highline fenders. It's got the inner fender as well. Had to move a bunch of stuff that was mounted lower up. The evap canister I actually moved back behind the fender. On the back here I have the Genrite fenders as well. Used to have the full fenders, but they kept getting hung up on rocks, and so I ended up going with these comp cut fenders. And then I have the tub armor corner guards, aluminum. I bought the blanks and cut them out to match the 40-inch tires and the stretch width. And then on the back I have a Genrite tire carrier. Don't always wheel with that because of the weight of the tire on the back, and if I'm going up something steep, it tends to lift the front end more than I'm comfortable with, and so a lot of times I just take the spare tire off, take the carrier off, and carry plugs. Got the Sidewinder shifter, and then we'll take a look at the drivetrain in a second. So stuffed under the hood here, we have a 5.3 LS. It's backed by a 4L60E transmission, and then an Atlas 3.8 transfer case. It's one that I used to have on my YJ, and I just, when I tore the YJ apart and sold all the parts, I just kept that and put it on this. Got a Premier power welder for the on-trail repairs. I'll get you guys the name of the radiator company that I used, because this swap radiator works really well. And then up in front here I've got a power steering cooler, and then a tranny cooler up in front. The tranny cooler does a couple things. It gives me a little, well, it cools the tranny, and then it also gives me some a little bit of reserve fluid, so when I'm pointed extremely steep angles, I don't run into the issues with loss of fluid to the transmission and loss of power. So at some point I am going to stretch the front of the frame a little bit. move the steering box forward, and then move everything from the front axle forward as well. I want a couple more inches on the front. I'm pushed all the way back on the rear as far as I can with that Genrite stretch tank. I couldn't get a 1/4 inch more out of the back unless I moved the tank into the tub itself, and take my grandkids wheeling a lot, so I don't really want to do that. So the cage is just a stock cage. It's got some rock hard bolt-on stuff tied into the body. I haven't done the frame tie-in yet, but I got the pieces to do that. I got a lot of the triangulation back there, and then up and back I've got a lot on top. I know people that have rolled with these rock hard additions to the cage, and it's basically saved their melon, so I'm confident that what I got right now will do the trick. So the gauge cluster is Summit digital gauges in an aftermarket plastic blank panel that replaces the factory gauge cluster.